So you'll appreciate this. We had a just a terrible winter storm. Um, Grocery stores literally decimated. How much snow did you get?
I got 2 inches at my house, and you would have thought, again, coming from Michigan, you would have thought that we were down and out. Bread aisles gone, milk's gone, toilet paper gone again. Because as we all know, COVID makes you have to shit yourself a lot. So
A lot. There are people with attics full of toilet paper. I know.
Yeah. Somebody's got a hoarder set full of that stuff. So
well, we almost starved, during the 24 hours of winter weather we had because we didn't make it to the grocery store.
welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent up that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from achieving your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop. Well, Alan, cheers to another great episode. And we're looking forward to talking to Joe, who has a little bit different story than we do, but he's got his mug up and ready to go. And we are doing what we do best, and that's drinking beer while we talk to people. So here we go. Joe is a strategist who helps business owners reclaim their time freedom. He believes your business should run itself and shouldn't run you into the ground. He helps clients find full enjoyment. He actually already owns and operates 2 successful automotive repair shops, which I can't wait to get into. This is going to be good. I hope you don't start asking him a bunch of stuff about your truck, though.
I like talking about my truck.
He does like to talk about his truck, but he does all of that running with just 6 hours a week on his automotive repair business. And I know he's got some great ideas on how to better market your local business, a brick and mortar business. And so I think this is going to be a really interesting episode to get Joe's perspective. And I know we've got a ton of questions for you on that. So without any more ado, let's talk to Joe a little bit more. Joe, welcome.
Guys, thanks for having me. Cheers a little bourbon in the glass. So cheers to you guys for having this platform and enjoy your work. So glad to be here.
Awesome. Joe, let's jump into it then. So you're in New Haven, Connecticut. You decided to get into the automotive repair business, but how'd you get into it?
I used the old my cousin Vinny. My dad was a mechanic. His dad was a mechanic. My uncle was a mechanic. No, my father was in the automotive business, but that had absolutely no bearing on why I got in. I got involved because I worked a block from the shop that I now currently own, slinging pizzas and bringing out pizza slices. And the guy that would come into the shop, who was a friend of mine, said, "You tired of smelling like onions and bacon every day? Why don't you come sweep floors at the shop up here?" So that's how I got to the glorious, sexy story of how I got into the automotive business. And my father was pissed, and he said, Why you get into the automotive business? What the hell's wrong with you? Look at my hands, freaking miserable. Like what are you doing?"
So you started out just turning wrenches, getting in there, starting to do things. What did they do? Start you on oil changes, or make you start mopping up the floor first, or did you get in and rebuild a truck?
It was sweeping the floors and cleaning cars. I remember first car I had to, can you wash cars? Yeah, sure. We used to wash Peterbilts and Freightliners all day just to wash the seagull shit all over all the trucks, So like, yeah, I could handle a car. That's no problem, And the first detail I had to do was a 67 Corvette hardtop, and they had just painted this thing, and the guy that painted it was not the greatest painters. They had a wet sand and buff all the imperfections out of the paint, and they left compound and just shit everywhere on this paint job. And they're like, "Here you go, kid, clean this thing up. The guy's coming in at 4:00." Like, so
right. I mean, we all have that story, that first job out where maybe you're cleaning shit, maybe you're cleaning up seagull shit. In my case, it was having to sweep up at a machine shop. I had to work my shift and sweep up at the machine shop, but it was always the greasiest thing. And They always said the mark of a great machinist is somebody who was clean when they were done. And that's why my mother made me strip down to my underwear before I come into the house at the end of each day, because I was a freaking mess. I was the worst machinist. I was dirty. So I'm
Tell
sure
me you did it at the back door.
I did right at the back door
Okay,
with my
good.
neighbors watching usually too.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of an exhibitionist, but that's your first job, right? You got to have those jobs. You got to have that work from the bottom up to really get a feel for, especially Joe, you're in the business of auto repair. I mean, when you're talking to one of your guys and you're in the shop, they can't BS you, right? You're like, you guys know I've done this stuff, right? So tell me you can't do this, because I know you can. So you built your way up. Did you get to the certified mechanic? Did you go take tests and do all that, or did you just keep rolling with it, do your thing, and then start owning the business? How did that work?
Yeah. So, worked my way up through my technical job when I, passed the, clean, I said, this mess of a paint job, I could teach me how to do a better job than this. This is terrible, and I learned how to do the painting side of the business, and, did that up for about 7 or 8 years, and had fun doing it. And it was a good job. It was nice to see the car fully painted after it had come in. We do a lot of collision work. So after an accident or a restoration. But at a certain time, I had an early mentor. My parents had foreign students that would come to learn English here, and a lot of them were diplomats, or a lot of them were in the government of their country. So I had one guy that was he was in the Peruvian government, and he came to New Haven to study English and become a better speaker. And they had this great program. And I used to bring him to his classes at the university right down the street from, where I was working. And I remember one day where I was getting paid like garbage money, but I kept coming back, so they kept paying me. So he had asked me about, like, how much do you get paid, and how do they figure that out? And he was so, like, South American, that culture is just so, like, negotiation, and there's a gradual, like, way about them that they're really good about that. He taught me, like, how to negotiate my salary, and, like, I thought you just got a raise every year. Like, I didn't even know how any of that worked. So one day he said to me, I'm still painting cars, and he said, how much do you think you should be making an hour? And I said, I had no idea. I was maybe making like $10 an hour. I'm like, man, I don't know, maybe $12 an hour. And he's like, what if you could make $15 an hour? And I'm like, I don't know. How would I even go about doing that? So he goes, when you pick me up later, we'll talk. So he got the newspaper, and he looked up the classified ads, and he looked for another auto repair shop looking for somebody that was doing what I was doing. And he said, you're going to call this place, and you're going to find out how much they're paying for this job, and you're going to go interview for this job. I'm like, you're nuts. What are you talking about? I'm not going to go interview. Like, I like this place. I like the people that are there. My buddy works there. And he's like, can we trust me? Like, we had been friends at this point. Like, we just trust me? I'm like, sure. So I go interview for this job, and you can, go around the shop and take a look at this, take a look at that. And I say, we got to the point. And he's like, well, how much are you looking to make? And I said, I wasn't prepared. He didn't prepare me for that part. So I remember he had said 15. So I'm like, okay, well, if this is his thing, and I can go back and tell him that this didn't work, I'm going to just say 15. So I'm like, looking for $15 an hour. And the guy kind of, like, sat back in his chair. And I'm like, oh, I said too much. And he goes, okay, $15. Yeah, we could, hey, babe, can we do 15? Yeah, we could do $15 an hour. So I knew that I was I already knew I was shortchanging myself. So I already knew that I was really getting robbed at the place I was working. So I left there. I was, like, so bewildered. And I said, how is this all going to work out? So I pick him up later, and I say, the guy offered me $15 an hour. And he goes, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go into work tomorrow morning. You're going to tell your boss that you found another job doing the same exact thing that you're doing right now. You're going to tell them that they offered you $16 an hour. And you're going to tell them that your last day is 2 weeks from today. It was a Thursday. I'm not doing that. And he's like, okay. He's like, you already know that you can go here and make $6 an hour more than what you're making right now, a block away. Okay. So he's like, do you trust me? I'm like, sure. So I walk in and I'm like, my knees are knocking, my hands are shaking. I'm like, I don't have the balls to do this. Like, but I knew like I'm shortchanging myself. So I grew the courage, and nobody else was in the shop that day. There was 2 other guys that worked there. One guy had a doctor's appointment, and the other guy, who was my friend and was kind of like a business partner, he had to stay home with one of his kids for the morning. So it's just me and him. So now it's even worse. So I followed the script to the T. Well, he almost had a freaking heart attack. Because here I was painting all the cars. I was doing all this stuff. He had been the painter previously. And he's like, the hell, I'm not going back to do this. Now I got to go find somebody. So can I just come? And one of the things he told me is go back to what you were doing. Just say that, mic drop, and go back to your job that you're paid there to do. So I'm in the spray booth, and he like comes to me like hours later. I didn't even see him. He went into his office, like he doesn't know what he's going to do. And he goes, okay, here's what we're going to do. He's like, I'm going to give you the $15 an hour. And I said, well, it was 16.
Right.
And he goes, and I'll give you the other $1 at the beginning of the year. How does that sound? I'm like, man, talk about learning. So that was my first mentor. And that's where I learned that I can dictate what my career was going to be. I have some tools. I have some leverage that what I was doing was so valuable. I wasn't just a number on a sheet of paper. I wasn't just employee number 3. Like I had a value, and I learned how to value myself through that process.
So that's your first time learning that, you know what, I might be more valuable than I thought. And so this is after 7 years. You go in, this guy gives you that nudge, that push, and says, hey, Joe, you can do a lot more than you're doing. So you do that. How much longer was it before you said, hey, because if I remember the story right, and you can correct me, you ended up buying this guy out or started your own shop. How long after that did you end up doing that?
So that the story I just told you about halfway through, through the painting, kind of wrapped up with that. And I learned that I had some opportunities to work with customers and do some customer service. And I really enjoyed working with people. Like my business partner now is like, you can deal with all the people. It's like, go ahead. You could deal with all the customers. Right. But I learned that that was what I really love to do. I love serving people. I love to, do that. So there was a guy had passed away in our shop, and he was the owner was going to hire somebody to kind of be a general manager or a front office person. And when I heard what the salary that he was looking to pay this person, I said, geez, I could really level up if I learn what has to be done next. So that was my first experience with, if I didn't go and negotiate my salary back, years prior, I wouldn't have had that boldness to go and say, hey, can I try this job out? I like dealing with people. When you gave me that experience, I enjoyed it. You had to teach me the rest, just like you taught me to paint, you taught me to detail, you taught me all these other things. You teach me how to work with people. And he did. And, so I got into that role, and I loved doing it. And it just, people would come back, and I had a nice, repeat business. And I started to see where the deficiencies in the business were, and how the front office was run, how learn more about how not to run a business than to actually, we talked about this, Chris, a lot of us learned how not to run a business. Like, you definitely don't want to do that.
Right.
And learning how I would, if this were my business. So start having that ownership mentality of the business. And the part of it where we bought the business is a really long story, and I won't even get into it, but it came to the point where business was being run so poorly that, our boss came into us and says, we're not making any money, even though we had been working, 40, 50 hours, 60 hours, we were always, our shop was always busy. He's like, yeah, we're not making any money. And, my current business partner and we were employees there. We're saying, man, we're busting our ass here. Where's it going? We were financially responsible at our home. We had purchased homes. We had just, renovated our condos and houses. And, we knew how to budget and to do this stuff. We were getting that experience to be fiscally responsible for our own personal finances. We're just saying, okay, this just doesn't seem like it adds up. Where's all this money that's coming in going? And we started calling it out where we saw it and saying, okay, you got this guy that's not efficient. You got that guy that's not efficient. And we're just employees just saying, hey, like if this thing's going to go down, we're going to go down with the ship because we put time into this place, time into this business. And hey, if it's going down, we're going to try to figure out with you where it's going down. And it really is a point that I stick with to this day. And it's created a culture in our business where I don't know everything as much as, don't tell my wife that, but I don't know everything. And I'm willing to humble myself and drop that ego to ask that person in my business where they see something going. What do you see? You want to correct the problem? Let's find where this problem is. And our boss was not receptive to that. I tried that before. Oh, I did that before. Oh, that's not going to work. That marketing strategy isn't going to work. And it was just, roadblock met with roadblock. And we had other options. My partner and I had other options. People had approached when they kind of heard that, they smelt the blood in the water. People had approached us to ask us to come to run their shops. But we had just a special connection to that shop. And we had cut our teeth there, and we saw the value. We saw the potential for what could be. And, we were just shut down at every block. So we kind of made an ultimatum to say, hey, listen, we're either going to, help you out of this and become business partners with you and buy you eventually out of this business, or we're going to go explore our other options.
So you actually hit a couple things that I just love. One, and I've noticed about Joe, always willing to ask for help and advice from people. It's always tough, especially as business owners, because you love it when somebody comes up and tells you they got a great idea for your business and, hey, let me tell you about it all over the place, right? You're like, sure, let me figure out another hour in the day I can implement what you have to say. But you do a great job of unlocking those blind spots that we have as owners. And it sounds like this guy had blind spots in his own, not really realizing that, man, I'm doing this service and I'm fixing up cars and I'm painting them and I'm getting them restored, but I'm not charging what I need to be charging to do this. So you guys get him convinced, you get involved. Did you immediately raise rates? Is that where you went first, or did you work on the operational process and raise rates? How did you do that?
You had to add more value to the service that we did and help customers understand, the insurance. We do a lot of insurance pay. So it was the old way of doing business was the insurance company comes in, they hand you an estimate, and that's what you follow. Well, we educated the customers to say, listen, it's your car. You pay high premiums. You have a car that needs to be fixed a certain way. And this is what it's going to cost to fix it. So it took a totally different mind shift for us to now tell the customers, well, yeah, I understand the insurance company says they're gonna pay $2,000, but at that rate, we can't repair the car safely and do it to our standards and guarantee and warranty the car. So we're just not going to take the job. But we had to take ownership of that. We had to take authority in our industry to say, this is how it should be done. And kudos to a lot of people in our industry that finally woke up and said, this is what needs to happen now. We're responsible for these repairs. This is coming out of our business. Most of us are independent shops. So let's take ownership and value what we do. And we weren't valuing it as an industry for so long. So some of the first things we did were insurance companies would come in and an adjuster would come and, write what he thought that was. We would challenge him. We'd throw a few people out. I mean, I don't like throwing people out, but if we're not, there's no negotiation here. If there's no common ground, and this is how you're going to treat your policyholders or the people that you're responsible for fixing their car, we're just not going to deal with you.
Wow, up against the insurance companies. Oof, I can't even begin to think about that one.
I'm assuming you're not a big fan of the consolidation that's going on then, because it does seem like so many shops are, they're selling out to some of these big national consolidators. Everybody's making a play to become a preferred vendor. Are you kind of carrying the flag for the independent?
So one of the first things that we had talked to our boss about, and it was a theory that I had, and I still have it today. Chris and Alan, you might have 10 different insurance companies insuring your vehicles over the next 20 years. You could have 5, you could have 10, you might have 1. If I appeal and I serve you, Chris, I serve you, Alan, and if I serve my customer, no matter what insurance company they ever have, I'm going to be their go-to guy. And I planted my flag on, I want to be your go-to guy. When you think of cars and you're in our area, you think of us. And that's it. And it doesn't matter what the insurance company, we challenge the insurance company. Listen, the insurance companies, they do their job. They're in their own business and they practice their business the way they practice their business. And that's completely fine. We serve the customer, tell customers all the time, I don't work for an insurance company. I work for you. You want me to work for you? You want me to advocate for you? You want me to do the work for you? You're going to get the best of what we have to offer. And we're going to fight tooth and nail for you. And we're going to go to bat against the insurance companies. And I'll be honest with you, most of the insurance companies now at this point, they do what they're supposed to do. They do what's right by the customer. And we do what's right by the customer. We warranty our work and we do the best practices for them. But my theory held true that was from, a dozen years ago to say, hey, if we build this customer base serving the customer, yeah, it's easier to go and get on a list and be funneled all this work. That's great. But what happens when they shut you off? What happens when they walk into your building and they tell you how to run your business? They tell you what parts to use. They tell you how much you're going to get paid. If you want to take that gamble, then so be it. But you're going to find with a lot of these consolidators, and I love to have, love that this is recorded, because the future of this is going to be that it's going to be, again, just like it was insurance companies versus, preferred versus not preferred. It's going to be just like, do you want to walk into the big box store, or you want to walk to the place that's going to have the exact thing that you need? It's going to help you find that. And it's 2 different types of service. Right. And you're comparing McDonald's with a mom and pop restaurant. And it's, what are you out there? What's the market? Do you want the gourmet hamburger, or do you want the one that's stuffed into the bag and just thrown out the window to you? I don't know. I like sitting down and enjoying a hamburger. I don't like eating in my car. Although I have a lot of customers that do.
Yeah.
And I detailed a lot of those cars, so I damn sure know that's the truth.
With nooks and crannies where all those fries go. You hit on something that I think is key for everybody. I want to highlight this a little bit more, is that in the service business, it is really easy to view yourself as a commodity and say, well, this is what the market will bear. And we've talked about this in other podcasts, but breaking yourself out of that commodity mindset and providing that value and that service where people say, you know what, I'm going to go with this guy because they do stand behind their work and give you a 1-year warranty and do the things they got to do. It is easy to say. It's really easy to hear this on the podcast. It's really hard to execute, though. And you hit on one of the things that's the absolute hardest, and that is sometimes you had to kick some people out of there, and that doesn't feel good.
Say no to a customer,
and you're firing a customer, you're firing a prospect, and you're like, man, that doesn't feel so good, man. I got bills to pay. Well, all right, come back. No, hold to your gun, stick to it because it will pay off. And then you touched on something. I was just interested in where you're going with it. Do you think the market in the automotive repair business is going to go to consolidation, or do you think there's always going to be consolidation, big box and independence?
I think there has to be a choice. That's like saying, is everything going to go to, chain restaurants, or are we still going to have, our one-off restaurants? I just think that it serves a purpose in the market. And the fact of the matter is that it only gets repaired a certain way. It's not that an independent or a chain can do it any better or any faster. They might have, things in place, but I had a customer recently, this exact thing happened, where they went to the big box store and they walked in and they had their kids and they had everything. And they were just, pull a number, sit down. It was so mechanical. They couldn't ask any questions. They couldn't ask about, they didn't feel comfortable freestyling and in the moment and saying, hey, I have a set of snow tires. Can you guys put that on while the car's in the shop? Like talking to an owner, talking to a manager, talking to somebody that actually gives a shit about them. And that's your choice as a consumer. My bet is that we will always be relevant in the market. We will always have a niche. Is our niche going to get a little smaller? Yeah, could be. But I'm comfortable with serving the people that we serve and always having them dictate what we do next and having their needs met. And as we start seeing more demand for certain things, we'll cater to that market. We just bought, our second shop we bought, there's a mechanical shop, and it happens to be next door to our current shop, two separate businesses, two separate buildings. Our customers were asking us for service work while the car was in the shop. Hey, I got into this accident, but I was on my way to get my oil changed. I was on the way to get my brakes done. The reason why I rear-ended that guy was because my brakes were low. It's not funny, but so it was a need. So people would ask us, hey, can you check this while it's here? Can you check that while it's here? And that was the thing with owning the value. We did that was worth something. That had value to our client. That ease, we're in the easy world. Everything's got to be easy, fast, cheap, this, that. Well, when you're talking about your car, you're talking about your home, your family, you're talking about getting your job, you're talking about doing the things that you need to do. You need that car to be right. It has to be. So when you take it to a place where they care about it just as much as you care about it, I feel will always be relevant.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's always going to be that niche, and I know you're serving that niche with your coaching business as well. But before we get there, I want to talk a little bit more because I really want to get into how did you market yourself? So first thing you did is mind shifts and said, not a commodity, going to be a value-added service, going to serve this niche. This is my customer. But then you started working on marketing. Tell us a little bit about how you went about promoting that. Did you pick did you pick a target market? How did you go about starting up the marketing for that and the advertising?
Well, we have a wonderful marketing person, and I could get into that story when we talk about, at the point where I burned out. But marketing for us was getting, that was where I was spending a lot of my hours, was finding that ideal client. How are we going to outshine the insurance? You see the gecko on TV, you see the, Mr. Mayhem, everybody knows the insurance players in the marketing sphere, right? How are we going to stand out in our local market? How are we going to stand out and attract that ideal client? We began to plant seeds of doubt in our customers' heads. Like, is this what you want? Yeah, you see the gecko. Yeah, you see Mr. Mayhem. Yeah, you see the State Farm guy, right? You see that. Okay. Start questioning in that. Start questioning why they want you to send all your photos into an app. Question why they want you to do everything digitally, why everything's going to digital.
Well, if I can jump, the trick for your marketing, if I'm not mistaken, Joe, is you've got to get the customer to come to you before they call their insurance company.
Bingo.
Because if they call their insurance company, they just get put into this funnel, and here's where you take your car, and they've got their preferred shops. But so you're going to have to cater your marketing to be to the customer. Hey, before you do that, come see your neighbor who actually cares about you and cares about the process, and I'll help you through that process. Is that right?
That's you spot on. And that was when we marketed ourselves, our slogan is relax, it was an accident. And we don't say that tongue in cheek. We truly meant, and that was working with a marketing person, sitting down and getting clear on what it is that we did best. And that was the one thing out of all the things we did well, that was the thing that we did the best, was helping customers relax after an accident. And it was, our marketing person sat in our office one day and she said she just wanted to be a fly on the wall and see what actually happened. And customer walked in and she was in tears, and the guy just came out of nowhere and hit the car, and he took off, and she watched this play out in real time. And this was a weekly occurrence. People come in, they're crying, they're upset, they're hurt, all these other things. And she saw her go from a stress level of 10 down to like just hugging us and just saying, I'm just, thank you for all that you did. And we haven't even fixed the car yet. We're like, we still got to figure out, hug us when we get the keys back and it looks like, the door doesn't fall off, but she said, that for first of all, for a woman, walk into a male dominated industry and you don't even know what you're going to get. We have our offices professionally cleaned. Our offices are clean. It's presentable. We dress presentable. We look presentable. Like, we take seriousness in all of that image so that people can truly, they don't have to have that seed of doubt when they walk in, and the Doberman sitting in the corner there, and the floor's full of trash, and the walls are all greasy handprints, and like, did I bring my plate? Should I reconsider this? Should I, that Google review, did they pay to get those 5-star reviews? Like, there's no seeds of doubt when they walk in. What they see is what they get. And it is a relaxing experience. And we've owned that slogan to where it's on a wallpaper when you walk into our shop, and it says, relax, you've made the right decision. So it's further cementing that. And our employees, from our front office to our technicians to anybody that will touch that car, the car wash guy, knows that our mission is helping the customer relax after an accident. So if it takes an extra day because you forgot to order a part or you didn't communicate something, that's not relaxing. Would you be relaxed getting that phone call that the part was delayed? Would you get that phone call that, if you got that phone call that, the insurance company didn't come out today because we forgot to call, or we didn't put the right paperwork in? That's not relaxing. So they know at every step of the way that our mission is to help customers relax after an accident. So it's taken our marketing out in the world, but it's also framed what we do inside as well.
Your industry has changed so much in my lifetime, and it's amazing. It went from a trade, a skill, to basically now you're talking about psychology and service. And I think about I probably saw my first Playboy centerfold on the wall of the shop my dad took the car to, and now you're catering to the female customer who, is a big source of business for you. It just blows my mind. And I think social media probably has a lot to do with the changes in the industry, don't you think? I mean, at first when it came out, I just felt like social media, the customers held us hostage. But there are some industries like yours where there's a lot of really good people, but in general, the customer base doesn't trust the industry. And I had an experience a couple of years ago. My son was driving cross country and the car broke down. And I mean, that used to be the worst thing that could happen, because you were probably going to be stuck in a small town and just absolutely get screwed. But, we hopped on his phone and looked around and saw, 4.5 stars, and we felt good about taking the car there. So I'm sure that's something that has helped your business as well, and something that you probably really focus on.
It certainly is. And, we focus on the female client, not, and I joke with my female clients, not because you're worse drivers. It's because they know where the insurance card is. They could actually have the patience to call the insurance company. Like, we've done our homework. We know why they're the ones that are coming in. It's not that they're bad drivers. It's the husband doesn't know where his ass from his elbow on. He doesn't even know what insurance company they have half the time. So it was in that industry change. Like, we were one of the first body shops to have a Facebook account and to post to it regularly. We're talking back in 2009, 2010, we're on Facebook. We have an account. We're posting before and after pictures. We embrace social media and put everything out there. I think we still are, I haven't checked today, but we're one of the highest rated shops on Google, Yelp, and Facebook. We were talking about Yelp when Yelp first came out, when it was just restaurants, and that's where you went to go, see what restaurant you were going to that night, not to go look at a body shop. But we did that beforehand. And, much to the delight of our marketing person, when she started working with us, she's like, "Oh, you guys are actually on Yelp. You've actually claimed your Google listing. You've actually done that stuff. Like, this is not stuff that I have to build out for you now. Like, you already have, dozens of reviews. You already have 5-star reviews. You guys actually respond to your reviews. You actually have a system in place to do that." And that was only because it would come up on my phone and it's like, Juan left you a 5-star review. And it was like, oh my God, respond to it, or if you had a bad review, you called the guy up, say, "Hey, you shook my hand. We took the keys and you left me a 3-star review. Is there anything I could do?" Lean into it. If we're talking to entrepreneurs and bad reviews and, I don't do that social media thing, or I don't do that Facebook, and I don't do that Yelp. Well, you ain't going to be doing business pretty long, because that's where business is. The marketplace is on social media. It's online. It's on your phone.
Those are your new. Yeah, it's relational advertising that if you don't get
it, thinking about that stuff, So we mix that in-person touch with the virtual world, and we've been able to blend the two to where our customers feel just as comfortable with us online as they do with us in person.
Yeah, you got to do it. You've got to embrace social media. You can't do the old man thing of, no, I'm going to stay in the yellow book, and I'm going to stay in the yellow pages. I'm going to get myself a big ad, and I'm not going to do this social media. Well, guess what, man? The yellow pages are gone. You got to go do this stuff. Joe, before we run out of time, one of the things I want to get into is you built your successful business. You added on the auto repair and the service piece, but you mentioned it earlier. You hit that burnout period. So, like, for the next 5 or so minutes, I want to talk about what the burnout was for you, how you got yourself down, because we talked about how you took a business, grew it up, got it there, and then, man, you just weren't where you wanted to be. So let's talk about that a little bit, and how you transitioned into the kind of the, I'm new now, and now I can do it 6 hours a week.
Yeah. I had the ladder of success on the wrong building. That's really what it comes down to. And it was about what I could.
That is awesome.
what I could accumulate. So, I had a really nice house. I had a nice car. I had the income I wanted coming in, but it was all at the expense of, we mentioned being on Facebook. I'm on Facebook hours and hours on end. And this was before we hired marketing people, before we had a team. It was just me, my business partner, our technicians, and whoever was left after we bought the company. And it was just a grind. We grinded, and we thought that when we renovated the house, then we got the house. Okay, that'll feel successful. We get to, success isn't a get to, it's everything on the way. I wish I knew that back in 2011 and 12. And, okay, got the car, and now I own the business. So the company pays for the car, and that's successful. And that didn't feel successful. And then, hit an income goal. We did this much in sales. We popped the bottle of champagne at New Year's Eve. We got to the sales goal. And January 1, it was like, all right, well, now we're going to just add another number to the front of that. And it's like, this does not feel successful. I sleep 4 to 5 hours a night. My, newly married, and I got a kid on the way. Is like, this is what I'm going to teach my son. Like, this is what it is. This is what it is to be a business owner, is just running yourself ragged, not getting any sleep, feeling like shit. Is that what I'm going to teach my son? And got to a point in 2014 where enough was enough. And my body just told me, all right, shut down, go into full anxiety attack, panic attack, not watching my diet, not exercising, not getting any sleep, dehydrated, drinking coffee by the gallon, coffee in the morning, whiskey at night. That was just my, just go on an endless loop of that. And and it was, I love my beer, love my whiskey, love my coffee, but that was what I relied on to fuel. It was like being a drug addict, that you just chemically dependent on caffeine and alcohol. And I didn't take care of myself. And, my middle of a work day in 2014, my just, a lot of stuff going on, busy day, and, just collapsed in the middle of the shop floor. Asked my business partner, he's like, you got to go to the emergency room, man. It's like sitting in the emergency room. And I'm like, this is not successful. Like this is not successful.
You obviously you had an episode, and that's what I want to highlight for everybody is that first of all, put your ladder on the right building of success. Love that line. That's beautiful. But you actually had that moment, that episode that we all say, hey, it's not going to happen to me, but it happened to you. And that was the anxiety attack, collapsing on the floor in your shop where you were making your success all happen. How did you transition out of it? How did you change? How did you kick that habit? What did you do to start changing those habits?
So, coming out of the emergency room and coming out of all that, and I'm like, this is not success. And I'm like, okay, well, what is success? All I've known up to this point is hustle, grind, be busy, just take in as much, say yes to everything. Our MO was, just leave the keys on the counter and fill out this form. We were people pleasers. We would just overcommit. We overcommitted and we over-delivered, but it was too much. Just all that over, it was overwhelming. And I said to myself at a certain point, it said, if this is how it's going to be, this isn't for me. This isn't what I want. But I had to find out what I did want. And, there were some really dark times there that I just, did not know what was going to be next and how this would all unfold, because it was, mild depression. And, when I'm sitting in the emergency room, the doctor goes, you're going to be on anti-anxiety medication for a long time. And that threw me for a loop. Is like, now I'm going to be that's another chemical dependence. This is all external solutions for what I found was going to be an internal problem. Jim Rohn was one of the first people I had heard after, doing some late night Google searches and, getting off my regular routine of surfing the web, was, for anything to change, you have to change. And that was like getting a right hook right to the face, because it was like, what do you mean? It's not my mother-in-law. It's not my clients. It's not my, the guy I had to throw out of the shop earlier. It's not my family. It's me. It's not my, it's me. like that's laughable. Like, how the hell can it be me?
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jim Rohn was obviously good. I know you did that. You started changing those habits. It's hard to get out of those habits, especially when you're trying to grind and grow a business. The same thing. I used to curl up on the couch and sleep my 3 or 4 hours because there's no way I was going to be able to go to bed, because at 3 o'clock in the morning, why not sit there and stew about your business and think about your books and everything else? Because isn't that what we all do? Oh yeah. So it's tough. But those habits, you got to start changing those things and getting them into it. And now you got it down to 6 hours a week. Tell us a little bit about how you're putting those fingers on it. So that the company is doing what you want it to do, and Are you having meetings? You got a general manager now? What are you doing now to kind of get to that
Or
spot?
how do you spend those 6 hours?
Better question. Thank you.
Better question. Yeah. So that was one of the things that I found was the most important thing in my business was what was I doing every single day? Like I had notepads and I would journal when I walked in that shop at 8 o'clock in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon, 5 days a week. What was I actually doing? Where was I spending my time? What were the things that I could do for free? Like I could go in there. I love doing them. And what were the things I could do without? And what I started doing was finding people that were already, I'm a big fan of repurposing. I'm a big fan of like cross training. And it was what people could help me already in my business and empower them to level up in their own careers and their own life and say, okay, Joe doesn't like to do this task. Okay, well, hey, next meeting, hey, is there anybody that, do you guys have any interest in your goals and start setting goals for themselves? And where would you like to be in 5 years? Where would you like to be next year? Do you want to be in this position for the next 5 years here? Would you like to move up or move around in the company? And what I started finding was when I started listening to what these guys had to say, nobody had ever done that for them. Nobody had ever asked them what they wanted. They were just machines. Come to work, do the job, bang the hammer, fix the paint, get the car done, repeat. And nobody had ever talked to them in that way and presented an option that, wait, I can do only the jobs that I like to do. And it wasn't being a prima donna, it's just what they were good at. One guy likes straightening. One guy likes panel change. One guy likes painting. One guy he actually likes doing the customer service work. And we got crystal clear on who we were as a company. And as we attracted people in, this is what I see a lot in the service industry, they'll take a warm body. And it's like, well, it doesn't work if they're not going to align with if you're just going to hire them, train them, and fire them in 6 months, you just wasted all that time when you could have paid a little extra, find somebody that actually cares about your company as much as you do, and that wants to grow, because that's the rocket fuel they're going to use to help your business grow, to help themselves personally grow. And we have the best team. We're a small shop. We do very well, but we have a committed team of people that all they want to do is grow, succeed, and then help the people that are coming up behind them do the same things. Everybody's on the same page.
You did a great job in doing what you needed to do to break yourself free by first empowering people by asking that question. Hey, who likes doing this? And guess what? There's a lot of people out there who probably love doing stuff you hate, and they get off and they love it and they just get into it. And then you ask that great question. And I do this all the time in my business. What are your personal and professional goals? You got to take care of your family. What is your personal and professional goal? So this year, the challenge I got with my office staff is they have to come back to me in a month and tell me what their personal and professional goal is going to be for this year so that I can hold them accountable to it and I can reward them. And so we'll see how that goes. But I know we're running out of time and I've got to ask my stock 3 questions.
I've got one thing I want to say,
but I'm going to wait for Alan.
Yeah. And it has nothing to do with business, but you have a glass of bourbon in your hand. And last night I was with a friend of mine who just came back from a few days on the Bourbon Trail. And I love bourbon, and I never knew this. So he's at Angel Envy, and they taught him how to drink bourbon, which the first sip, you slosh around like mouthwash for 10 seconds. And I did that. And I'm telling you, parts of my mouth burnt, like your gums, the tip of your tongue. Then your second drink, you'll actually taste the bourbon. And so I did it, and it was mind-blowing because the second drink has no burn whatsoever. And all of a sudden, the vanilla, the orange peel, all the stuff that they talk about that sounds really fancy, it just absolutely came alive. So my gift to you, Joe, in case you didn't know that.
I think we just put the ladder on the right building there, buddy.
That's right.
Why are we all doing this? So I know how to taste bourbon better, because yes,
right.
I can drink some bourbon. Now, going on that bourbon trail, I'm going to go down that. It's hard to do that, right? Because how many tastes do you have to do? And then after a while, come on, dude, I can only taste so much. I got to drink,
Yay,
right?
Uber.
Oh boy. All right. So I think after 45 minutes of listening to us, the only thing people will take away from our podcast is not how to drink bourbon.
No, and then what, you got to put your ladder to success on the right building. I mean, that should be the name of this podcast.
It will be
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because when you ask people to define success, you had what most people would say is success. You've got this business, it's growing and money's coming in, and you found out that that isn't your definition of success. So you've actually figured it out. Look at the grin on his face.
Yeah. I know you can't see it on the podcast, so he is grinning ear to ear, but
love it.
It's such a hard thing to really grasp when you're in the middle of it, trying to run your own business and get there. But obviously Joe's had one of those defining moments that nobody wants to have, because we know nobody thinks our heart's going to give out or our anxiety is going to give out. And then, of course, I've had 2 guys this year who've had to have stints in their heart in my company. So it happens. But you gotta realize it beforehand and take care of yourself. So I think that's huge. But I still gotta ask my questions.
All right, go ahead.
Because I'm just dying. I gotta. All right. Joe, you talked about renovating your house, and I'm in the home building renovation and handyman business. What is the favorite feature of your house?
My kitchen.
Oh, I love it. What part of the kitchen?
We have a 6-burner Viking cooktop, and I put that I run that thing.
Want somebody to.
I run that kitchen ragged. That thing is like, we got two young boys that are growing appetites, growing boys, and boy, that kitchen gets its full use. So it's got to be the 6-top Viking.
Oh, I love that. You're speaking my language, because the podcast I really want to do is food and drinking. But since I have a little bit more experience in that, food and drinking is my hobby and my fun. And that is part of my success factors for myself. All right. Second thing is, we talk about customer service because we're customer service
freaks.
We love it. We want to hear one of your personal customer service pet peeves.
Personal customer service pet peeves is, and it's on our team, is not calling a customer back, not returning a phone call. We have a policy in our shop: return the phone call within 2 business hours. And our guys are so great at, we always get, compliments on communication and knowing where the car is in the process. So communication with the customer is just my pet peeve. If I don't get a call back from somebody I'm trying to do business with, they'll never get my business, and I'll just move on to the next one.
So hard, so good in this instant gratification world, man. If I right now, I told my guys, if I send you a text message, what do I expect? One back. You're right.
Well, and it's amazing. Everybody's so busy right now. The economy is booming. It blows my mind how many people just won't return a call just to let you know, hey, I'm sorry, we're really busy. We can help you, but it might be 6 months from now. I can take that news, but they don't even bother to call back. Those are the companies that, when we have our eventual downturn, are going to be begging for customers, and people like you have been communicative the whole time. Boy, I got through that word. That was
that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a 10-cent word.
Thank you.
All right.
People like you are actually going to be just fine through any kind of a downturn, because you focus on the customer and you communicate. I'm not going to get through it the second time.
Oh, taking that 10 cents back. All right. Last one. Again, in the building business, I want to hear a DIY or contractor nightmare story.
Oh God. All right. I have to relive this one. So the house that we're in now, we bought 6 years ago, and the upstairs was all 4 bedrooms, was all carpet in the bedrooms. So first thing we did was pull the carpet out, and we had hardwood floors put in. So my wife's family was here from Italy, and we hadn't moved into this house yet. It was still under renovation. So I'm driving them all back to JFK in the van. And my wife calls me, and she said, Joe, there's water leaking from every ceiling on the first floor. And I'm like, I'm in traffic. I don't know. I don't know what to do. What do you tell me more? I couldn't pull over. And she goes, Joe, there's literally water leaking from every ceiling in this house. So you guys know probably exactly what it was. The guys shot 2 long staples through the floor and hit all of our radiant heat in the floor.
Oh, yes. Oh, and I'm just screaming. I'm just absolutely just dying on my chair right now. Water is the enemy in the house, and that they hit them all. It's not just
they hit in every room. So we had to pull half of our ceilings down that had just the first floor had just been fully painted and patched and it was a nightmare. It was just a miscommunication with the workers. They knew that there was radiant heating in the floors, and they just put the half an inch too long of
oh man,
nail on the floor. So that's thanks for making me relive that. Now
that's a good one.
Now I gotta go refill my glass. I just about forgot
more bourbon tonight,
Swish for 10 seconds.
Swish for 10 seconds. Okay.
Joe, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing with our audience Team Adventure. And I love what you've talked about. How can people get a hold of you? Because I know you've got a coaching passion that can help people a lot with their business through your experience and what you've done. So how can people get a hold of you?
So I like helping business owners that are ready to say enough's enough. I want to change. I want to do something different. This isn't working. And they can reach me at joe@joeperrone.biz. That's my email. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at joeperrone.biz. I'm on LinkedIn. Hit me through any of those channels. And I just didn't want to offer a short PDF for anybody that's time challenged in their business. It's the 5 keys to time freedom. And they can get that at the website, joeperrone.biz/5 keys.
Love it. I'm going to put all that in the show notes as well. Take Joe up on it. Go out there and get the 5 keys to freedom. It's a quick read. I actually took a look at it. So I think it's all good stuff. But Joe, thanks so much for sharing everything with us and with the team. And everybody else, go out there and make it a great day. And let's go put that ladder on the right building for success.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Alan and Chris.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Small Business Safari. Don't forget to go out and rate, review, and follow me. And if you like this episode, go out and check out my other episodes, or check out my Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn for other great content. And remember, your positive attitude will help you achieve your higher altitude in the wild world of small business ownership. Until next time, make it a great day, Adventure Team.